So yeah, so also today I just want to talk a little quickly about low budget filmmaking and what you can do with limited time and limited budgets and with nothing really, with nothing at all. Um, with this film, obviously it's set in a certain period of time, and costume wise and props and so forth. You've really got to sort of hone in and sort of get that authentic and so forth. And I could very well just gone out and bought normal army uniforms and just done a gung-ho version of this that wasn't authentic, it wasn't true to life and so forth. But I thought, no, I really want to hone in and really get this authentic as I can possibly afford to get it authentic. And one big thing was costumes. Where the hell I was going to get them, I looked at costume hire places around here. A lot of them had, sort of cheap knockoff bootleg style ones that had camo through them and so forth, and it's like, fair enough, that's good for a party, but that wasn't really going to cut it. One thing I did with this film was I went on the internet and found numerous photographs from the Vietnam War period, taking photographs of the war photographer, getting photographs of the Viet Cong soldiers, Viet Cong women, children, US soldiers, just things that were quintessentially referenced that time and period, even movie stills and stuff, and I put them into a little reference book, and that had the name of, like, say, Catherine Leroy as the reference in the middle, and it had pictures around her of that. And I'd sit there and look at them and trying to figure out, okay, where am I going to get this sort of costume from? Where am I going to get that prop gun from, and so forth. And so what I ended up doing, I found the only place I could find in Brisbane was a guy by the name of Ian Spark and his son Luke Spark. They're basically a military costume place here in Brisbane that solely deal with any era of military uniform from, God knows, First World War right up until modern warfare, I guess. And apparently, Ian and Luke, these type of guys. Well, Luke's Ian's son, so Ian's been doing this from collecting uniforms. God knows how young he's been, but I believe he's one of these guys that knows exactly what uniform is needed for what particular battle, and right down to little things like chewing gum or even what the person's wearing as their underwear. He is that particular stuff. And originally I wanted to get him and his son on board as military advisors, and he could offer me military makeup people, military advising, first ADing he could do. He could offer all the costumes that we wanted. And also military production design, so to get to the terrain that we were shooting in the correct way. But and also prop weapons. I was like, wow, that's really good. And I ended up sort of asking, what could be done, and he sort of negotiated the price with me, and it was a really good price for what it was. And if I had the budget and had the funding, I would definitely go for it. But at that point in time, I could not do it because it was just out of my budget, out of my league, and I wanted to do this just off the cuff and really just very limited. I didn't really have any money to spend on it. So what I ended up doing was I sort of met him halfway and I said, look, can I hire your uniforms off your rack for a set rate? And we came to an agreement after the end, and then we got it all sorted out. So so I was lucky in that sense. Really didn't have to sort of worry much about that. So I had the uniforms in place, and his son Luke, gave me all the military costumes for the female war photographer and the VC lady, and he also threw in a couple of other ones for some American soldiers that I had as extras featuring in it. So yeah, Ian Spark and Luke Spark from Spark Films kitted us out with all the uniforms, webbing, helmets and stuff, and all the boots and all that sort of thing, and which was really, really great. Another thing I went out and did was how the hell did we find weapons and guns for this short film? Here in Australia, obviously the laws are very tight and strict on what you can have in your house and home, and if owning a rifle or stuff like that, you got to be licensed and you have it for a particular reason. So even things like toy guns are very hard to come by. There's not many places out there that offer it. I do know in each state in Australia it's very different. Here in Queensland, I think a little bit more lenient than in, say, places like Victoria and New South Wales. Having come off my feature film, The Counterpart, we used a lot of toy guns in that were fairly realistic looking, and I knew that if you looked in the right places, you could find weapons that looked the real deal. Julie ended up actually finding someone that she knew that was in the military, and they ended up putting us in the right direction and trying to source an M16 toy gun which looked authentic, and we ended up using it in the film, and it looks really authentic, this thing. I kid you not, this thing looks so authentic. It's like, in the film it looks real, but it's not. It's completely fake. A big thing when you're shooting with any sort of weapons like that, toy guns, it's always good to notify the police, or if you're shooting on private property, make sure you notify all the people that you're going to be there on the day, because essentially you can get into a lot of trouble, especially here for that sort of thing. A lot of fines can be thrown your way, and that's something as a filmmaker, when you're on a limited budget, you don't want that. You're trying to not spend much money, you're trying to do it with limited resources, and copying something like that's not going to be a good thing. But yeah, it's important with anything like that, cover your bases and really nut it out, because you don't want to jeopardize your career over silly things like that. Casting for the film, well, was pretty easy to begin with, because Julie, my partner, she really wanted to sink her teeth into a role that she could be up front with, and I pretty much wrote her this role, which was great. So I knew I had the war photographer I knew I had the war photographer in place, and I knew what she was capable of, and what she could bring to the plate. So that was fine in that respect. When it came to trying to find the Viet Cong female for this film, it kind of struggled a little bit trying to find someone. And those of you who know, there's that website Star Now that you can go on and you look at all the profiles of the different people, different actors and so forth. And on a limb one day, Julie decided to decided to just ring up a couple of the people and see if they were interested in really doing this, and send them a script and so forth. And 9 times out of 10, if you ring someone up on the phone, you can kind of tell from there on in how committed and how serious they will be for a project. And we did have a couple of people lined up to begin with to do the role, and just availability and location for these people sort of didn't work out. So in the end, we ended up finding one girl that was really keen and interested, and straight away after reading the script, Julie met up with her. I had to go out and do other things. Julie met up with her just quickly. Didn't really audition this girl at all. All we knew that was she was studying a Bachelor of Fine Arts at a university, and all she did was pretty much just act every single day, really hone her craft. So that's all we knew about her. We didn't audition her, I didn't know, but we knew one thing: she was 100% committed. And when she read the script, she was very emotional about it, and she really wanted to make this happen, and really wanted this opportunity. And I thought, well, that in itself is enough to sort of hire you for this gig. Julie met up with her, very impressed with her. When we got the costumes, we went down and visited her, did a costume fitting, met with her, and I was very pleased with her as well. And it was obviously, I gave her a few references to look at, like movies and pictures and so forth. Did the same with Julie as well, running through all those sort of things. So I gave the actors enough sort of material to work on, and enough history of the film, of the era and the period, to sort of mould their characters around, and sort of just gave them enough. And I said to them basically that when we go to shoot this, you should know the script. You're going to know what's going to be involved, obviously, and we're going to go out there and we're just going to shoot this very raw, a little bit off the cuff, and see where it ends up, and be spontaneous about it. So, and in all honesty, it really worked, because I think in a war zone, it's got to be spontaneous, and there's you don't know what's going to happen next. And I think doing that sort of created a little bit of fear, which really suits the drama of this film.